If life feels like it's moving so fast that you can barely catch your breath, this moment is for you. There are seasons in life when the weight doesn't come from weakness, but from strength held for too long. You've carried responsibilities, expectations, and silent worries year after year. You showed up when you were tired. You kept going when it would have been easier to stop. And somewhere along the way, breathing became something you rushed through instead of something you felt. We live in a world that praises speed, faster decisions, fuller calendars, constant motion. But no one ever taught us how to slow down without feeling guilty. No one told us that rest is not a reward and stillness is not failure. Yet, slowing down might be the most life-giving choice we can make. When you allow yourself to move gently, something shifts. Your shoulders soften. Your thoughts grow quieter. You begin to hear your own needs again. Slowing down doesn't mean giving up on life. It means finally returning to it, fully present, fully alive. Here at Simple Earth Studio, we believe peace is not found in doing more, but in learning when to pause. If you've been strong for too long, let this be your permission to breathe. There comes a moment in life, often somewhere after 40, when the noise begins to feel heavier than it used to. Not louder in volume, but deeper in weight. The phone never truly stops buzzing. The calendar fills itself before we've had a chance to breathe. Even in quiet rooms, the mind keeps racing, replaying worries, responsibilities, unfinished thoughts. And the body keeps moving forward, long after the heart has begun to whisper, "I'm tired." Most people don't break down all at once. There's no dramatic collapse, no clear warning sign that says this is the day everything changes. Instead, we slowly wear out. A little less patience, a little more tension in the shoulders, nights where sleep comes late or leaves early, a subtle sadness that settles in quietly, the kind we don't talk about because we don't even know how to name it. We tell ourselves it's normal, it's just stress. This is what adulthood looks like. Everyone feels this way. But deep down, the body knows the truth before the mind is ready to admit it. I remember noticing it one morning while tying my shoes. Nothing was wrong, and yet everything felt heavy. My chest felt tight. My thoughts felt cluttered. I wasn't unhappy exactly, just worn thin. Years of doing what needed to be done had added up quietly, like dust collecting in corners I never checked anymore. That was the moment I realized something important. I hadn't been listening to myself. Our bodies speak long before they shout. High blood pressure, tight jaws, shallow breathing, sleepless nights where the mind replays conversations and worries that no longer matter. These aren't random inconveniences. They are messages, gentle at first, patient, asking us to slow down before something breaks. But slowing down feels almost rebellious in a world that rewards speed. We're praised for pushing through, for staying busy, for carrying more than we should. Rest is treated like laziness, stillness like wasted time. And yet, the older we get, the clearer it becomes. Constant motion doesn't equal progress. Sometimes it only creates distance from ourselves, from joy, from the quiet meaning we once felt so naturally. There's a strange relief that comes when we finally allow ourselves to pause, not to quit life, but to return to it, to sit without reaching for the phone, to breathe without checking the clock, to notice the way light falls across the room in the late afternoon, or how silence can feel like a soft blanket instead of something to escape. Slowing down doesn't mean giving up on purpose. In fact, it often brings us closer to it. After 40, many of us begin asking different questions. Not how can I do more, but why am I doing all of this? Not what's next, but what truly matters now. These questions don't come from weakness. They come from wisdom earned through years of showing up, caring, and carrying on. When we listen, really listen, we begin to realize that peace isn't something we chase, it's something we allow. It grows in the spaces we stop filling, in the evenings we don't overschedule, in the mornings we start slowly, in the courage to say enough, not out of defeat, but out of self-respect. Your body asking you to slow down is not a failure, it's an invitation. An invitation to live the second half of life with more honesty, with less noise, with a deeper connection to what feels real, to trade constant urgency for quiet clarity, to choose presence over pressure. If life has felt overwhelming lately, know this: you're not broken, you're human, and you're not alone. Many of us reach this season feeling tired in ways we never expected. But within that tiredness lives a quiet truth, one that gently says, there is another way, a slower way, a softer way, a way that honors not just what you do, but who you are. And maybe, just maybe, the peace you've been searching for doesn't arrive with big changes or dramatic decisions. Maybe it begins with listening and allowing yourself to slow down before the body has to ask again.
I grew up believing that slowing down meant falling behind. In America, we are taught, often without words, that worse is measured by productivity. Faster is better. Busy is successful. Rest is something you earn only after everything else is done. So we push, we keep going. We tell ourselves we'll slow down someday. After retirements, after the kids are grown, after life finally settles. But life rarely settles on its own. There came a moment for me, not dramatic, not loud, just quietly unsettling. I was sitting in my car after another long day, hands on the steering wheel, heart racing for no clear reason. I wasn't sad, I wasn't angry, I was just worn down. My shoulders were tight. My breath was shallow. My thoughts wouldn't stop running. And I realized something that surprised me. I wasn't exhausted because I was weak. I was exhausted because I never stopped listening to my body. We're told that slowing down is quitting, that if we pause, we'll lose momentum, fall behind, disappoint someone. But slowing down is not giving up. It's listening. Listening to your breath when it becomes shallow, listening to your shoulders when they've been holding tension for years, listening to your thoughts when they repeat the same worries over and over, asking quietly for rest. When you slow down, even just a little, something remarkable begins to happen. Your nervous system, which has been living in survival mode, starts to soften. Your heart rate eases. Your breathing deepens. This isn't a mindset trick or a motivational slogan. This is biology. Your body was never designed to run at full speed all the time. It was designed for rhythm, movement and rest, effort and recovery. I've noticed that when I allow myself to slow down, even in small ways, my world doesn't fall apart. The emails still get answered, life keeps moving, but I move through it differently. I drink my coffee without scrolling. I take walks without tracking steps. I pause before reacting. And in those pauses, I feel something I didn't even realize I was missing: clarity. Many of us in our 40s, 50s, 60s carry years of unspoken pressure. We've been strong for a long time. We've shown up, provided, endured. But strength doesn't mean ignoring what your body and heart are asking for. Real strength is the courage to slow down when the world tells you to speed up. Slowing down doesn't mean doing nothing forever. It means creating space to notice what actually matters. It means realizing that constant urgency is not a badge of honor. It's a warning sign. When you slow down, your thoughts become clearer. You start to distinguish between what's truly important and what's simply loud. You respond instead of react. You feel again. I used to believe that peace was something I'd earn later. Now I understand that peace is something we practice now, moment by moment, breath by breath. It lives in simple choices, turning off notifications, sitting in silence for 5 minutes, saying no without guilt, resting without apology. This isn't about rejecting ambition or responsibility. It's about redefining success. Success isn't how much you can endure before breaking. Success is how well you can care for yourself while living fully. Slowing down doesn't make you less capable. It makes you more present, more aware, more alive. And here's the quiet truth many of us discover later in life. When you slow down, you don't lose yourself. You find yourself. The part of you that isn't rushing, the part that knows how to breathe deeply, the part that remembers what joy feels like without needing a reason. So if you've been feeling tired in a way that feels deeper than sleep, consider this your permission to pause. Not forever, just long enough to listen. Your body is wise. Your heart knows the way. Slowing down is not giving up. It is healing.
There comes a moment in many of our lives, often somewhere after 40, when speed stops feeling like progress. We've spent decades moving forward, building careers, raising families, meeting expectations, keeping up with a world that never seems to pause. From the outside, everything may look fine, but inside, there's a quiet exhaustion, not the kind that sleep fixes, but the kind that comes from being away from yourself for too long. I remember when I first noticed it. I was sitting at the kitchen table early one morning, coffee growing cold in my hands, already thinking about the long list ahead of me. Emails, appointments, responsibilities, and suddenly a simple thought crossed my mind. When was the last time I wasn't rushing towards something? The question stayed with me, uncomfortable, honest, necessary. People who finally slow down often say something surprising. I didn't lose time, they say. I found myself again. At first, slowing down feels almost wrong. We've been taught that stillness is laziness, that rest must be earned, that productivity equals worth. So when we begin to move more gently through our days, guilt shows up. The voice in our head whispers that we should be doing more, achieving more, becoming more. But if we stay with the slowness long enough, something shifts. You begin to notice simple things again. Morning light spilling quietly across the floor, the warmth of a cup of tea held between both hands, the sound of your own footsteps during a walk with no destination. These moments don't demand anything from you. They don't ask you to improve or perform. They simply invite you to be present. And presence, it turns out, is deeply healing. Slowing down doesn't mean giving up on life. It means finally showing up for it. When you stop rushing, your senses wake up. Colors feel warmer, silence feels fuller. Time stretches. Instead of slipping through your fingers, you start listening, not just to others, but to yourself, to what you actually need, not what you've been told you should want. Many people discovered the life they were chasing was never meant to be fast. It was meant to be felt. There's a quiet courage in choosing a slower pace, especially in a world that celebrates speed. It takes strength to step off the treadmill and ask, what matters now? For some, it's health. For others, it's connection, creativity, or simply peace. Often, it's all of these at once. I've spoken to people who spent years measuring their days by productivity, only to realize later that the most meaningful moments were the ones with no agenda at all. Sitting beside someone they love, watching the sun go down, breathing deeply without checking the time. These moments don't show up on calendars, but they shape who we are. Slowing down doesn't make life smaller, it makes life deeper. When you slow down, you stop skimming the surface of your own existence. You begin to sink into it. Emotions you've been pushing aside gently rise, not to overwhelm you, but to be acknowledged. Joy becomes quieter, but richer. Gratitude feels less forced and more real. Even sadness, when it appears, feels more honest, easier to carry when you're not running from it. There's also a soft kind of freedom that comes with slowing down. You stop trying to keep up with lives that aren't yours. You release the pressure to prove something. You give yourself permission to be human, imperfect, aging, changing, and still worthy of love and peace. For many people in the second half of life, slowing down feels like coming home. Home to their values, home to their bodies, home to the person they were before the world told them who they needed to be. And perhaps that's the quiet miracle of it all. When you slow down, you don't lose ambition, you gain clarity. You don't lose purpose, you refine it. You don't lose time, you reclaim it. So, if you've been feeling a gentle pull toward a quieter life, listen to it. Start small. Sit a little longer in the morning. Walk without a destination. Leave space in your day for nothing at all. In that space, you may rediscover something precious. Not a new version of yourself, but the truest one. And sometimes, that's more than enough.
Let me share something simple. Not dramatic, not complicated, just something gentle you can try today. Tonight, sit somewhere quiet. No phone, no music, no goal. Just breathe slowly for 1 minute. That's it. It may sound almost too small to matter, especially in a world that measures value by productivity and progress. But that single minute can say something powerful to your body, something it may not have heard in a long time. I am safe. I don't need to rush. I didn't understand the importance of this until my own life started to feel constantly loud. The days blurred together, appointments, responsibilities, expectations. Even in moments of rest, my mind kept moving, replaying conversations, planning tomorrow, worrying about things I couldn't control. I was doing all the right things, yet inside I felt worn down, not broken, just quietly exhausted. One evening, after another long day, I found myself sitting at the kitchen table long after the dishes were done. The house was quiet. No television, no notifications, just the hum of the refrigerator and the soft glow of a lamp. I didn't plan to meditate. I didn't plan to reflect. I simply sat there and breathed. At first, it felt uncomfortable. My mind resisted the stillness. It wanted something to do. But after a few slow breaths, something softened. My shoulders dropped. My jaw unclenched. My breath became deeper without effort. And for the first time that day, I felt present. Not productive, not prepared, just present. That's when I realized how rarely we give ourselves permission to truly stop. Many of us grew up believing rest had to be earned, that slowing down was a reward, not a necessity. But over time, that belief quietly trains the nervous system to stay on high alert. We move faster, we think harder, we carry tension without noticing it, until it shows up as fatigue, irritability, or a sense that life has lost its warmth. That one quiet minute of breathing does something remarkable. It sends a message to your nervous system that words alone cannot. It tells your body that the danger has passed, even if there was no danger to begin with. It allows the heart rate to slow, the breath to deepen, and the mind to loosen its grip. This is how healing begins, not with big changes or dramatic breakthroughs, but with small signals of safety. You don't need to empty your mind. You don't need to do it perfectly. If thoughts come, let them pass like clouds. If your breath feels shallow, let it be shallow. The practice isn't about control, it's about allowing. As we get older, many of us begin to understand that peace isn't something we chase, it's something we create. It grows in the spaces we protect, in the moments we choose not to fill, in the silence we stop avoiding. That 1 minute may feel insignificant, but over time, those minutes add up. They become anchors in the day, gentle reminders that you are allowed to slow down, that you don't have to be everywhere at once, that your worth is not measured by how much you accomplish. You may notice that after a while, you start craving these pauses, a quiet morning before the house wakes up, a moment of stillness before bed, a breath taken slowly while standing in line or sitting in your car. These moments don't remove life's challenges, but they change how you meet them. There's a quiet strength that comes from presence, a steadiness, a feeling of being rooted rather than pulled in every direction. And often that strength begins not with action, but with stillness. So tonight, when the day finally releases its grip on you, try this gentle practice. Sit somewhere quiet, leave the phone in another room, let the world wait for 60 seconds. Breathe in slowly, breathe out gently. Let that minute remind you that you are safe, that you are allowed to rest, that healing doesn't need to be rushed. Sometimes the most meaningful change begins not by doing more, but by finally allowing yourself to do nothing at all.
There comes a season in life when the noise finally begins to fade, and what's left is a question we can no longer ignore. For some, it arrives at retirement, when the alarm clock stops ringing, but the mind doesn't know how to rest. For others, it comes after decades of success, responsibility, and constant motion, when achievements pile up, yet peace feels strangely distant. You look back and wonder how time slipped through your fingers so quickly, and you look ahead, unsure of what you're supposed to reach for now. Here's something gentle but important to remember. You don't need to prove anything anymore. Not to your family, not to society, not even to the younger version of yourself who believed life was a race that had to be won. You've already shown up. You've carried weight. You've done your share of building, fixing, providing, and enduring. And now, life is quietly offering you something different. Not another goal, but an invitation. An invitation to slow down. For many of us, slowing down feels uncomfortable for us. We've spent years measuring our growth by productivity, by how busy we were, by how much we attained. When that pace suddenly eases, it can feel like standing in an empty room, unsure of what to do with the silence. But that silence isn't emptiness, it's space. And space is where growth lives. You might feel like life passed too quickly, but your life is not behind you. It is here, right now, waiting for your attention. Life doesn't end when the calendar flips or the career winds down. It changes its voice. It becomes softer, more honest, less concerned with applause, and more interested in presence. This is the chapter where mornings can begin slowly, without urgency, where a cup of coffee held in both hands can feel meaningful again, where conversations deepen and listening becomes more important than speaking. If you've been successful but not peaceful, you're not alone. Many people arrive at this stage carrying an invisible exhaustion, the tiredness of always having to be on. The good news is this: peace doesn't require you to become someone new. It simply asks you to stop running from yourselves. You don't need to hurry anymore. There is nothing chasing you, nothing waiting to judge your progress. The most beautiful moments now are often the simplest ones. The sound of the house in the early morning, the way sunlight moves across the floor, a quiet walk where no one expects anything from you. These moments don't look impressive from the outside, but they heal from the inside. This is the season where life asks different questions. Not what can you achieve next, but can you be here fully with what already is? Your value was never tied to speed or productivity or success. It was always tied to being alive, to experiencing, noticing, and feeling. And those abilities don't fade with age, they deepen. If your heart feels tired, let it rest. If your mind feels crowded, let it quiet. If your life feels unfinished, remember that meaning doesn't come from doing more. It comes from paying attention. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where you're meant to be. Your life is still unfolding, not loudly, not urgently, but gently. And if you allow yourself to slow down enough to notice, you may discover that this chapter holds a kind of peace you never had time for before. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for allowing yourself this moment of stillness.
For a long time, I believed slowing down was something you earned after everything was finished, after the work, the responsibilities, the expectations. But life kept moving faster, and I kept falling further behind. That's when I realized something important. Slowing down isn't a luxury. For many of us, it's survival. There comes a season, often after years of giving, striving, and carrying more than we should, when the body and heart quietly ask for mercy. Not a vacation, not an escape, just space. Space to breathe, space to feel, space to remember who we are beneath all the noise. Slowing down doesn't mean giving up on life. It means choosing to stay present in it. It's the simple act of sitting without reaching for your phone, of taking a deeper breath before reacting, of allowing a quiet moment to be enough. Here at Simple Earth Studio, we create quiet videos for tired minds, gentle reminders that life is meant to be lived, not rushed. If this video spoke to your heart, please consider subscribing. Thank you for being here. Take a breath. You're doing better than you think.